Hi everyone, I'm Adam Frost, a PhD student here in the History Department at Harvard. In this video, I'm going to talk with you about a company called Taobao and the rise of e-commerce in rural China. During the 2015 World Economic Forum in Davos, the Chinese Premier Li Keqiang delivered a speech about the industriousness and the entrepreneurial spirit of the Chinese people. In the speech, Li drew upon the example of Qingyanliu, a small village in eastern China whose residents were selling more than 30 million items on e-commerce platforms daily. Qingyanliu was one of more than 200 so-called Taobao villages in China, each of which was conducting in excess of 10 million yuan in e-business on the Taobao platform every year. As Li Keqiang emphasized, these villages are at the forefront of a transformation of rural Chinese society. Hundreds of thousands of rural Chinese are now launching their own businesses and producing goods to sell on online platforms. As Premier Li explained, this type of mass entrepreneurship and innovation at the local level is central to China's future economic growth. China is in the midst of an economic revolution. In the past decade, the economy has begun transitioning away from manufacturing, construction, and heavy industry and towards information technologies, services, and green energy. China is becoming connected. More people now than ever before are being networked by trains, planes, and cell phones. China has also come online. In 2011, 420 million Chinese had internet access. By 2016, this number had risen to more than 720 million. These shifts are part of a broader revolution that has actually been half a century in the making. Nearly 40 years ago, when the People's Republic first opened up in 1978, China was still a poor agricultural economy, with 80% of its population living in rural areas. At that time, more than 250 million Chinese lived below the official poverty line, which was set at just 100 renminbi per year. In US dollars, that's about 17 cents per day, far, far below the World Bank's global poverty standard. But over the course of the 1980s and 1990s, all of that changed. Factories sprung up across China. Chinese workers began making the world's tennis shoes and handbags and digital watches. Rapid urbanization drew ever larger waves of migrant laborers from the countryside into the cities. People began to make more money and become more productive. And as workers became more skilled and educated, eventually Chinese goods and services moved up the value chain. China became a middle-income economy. Since the mid-2000s, there's been a new wave of economic transformation, the arrival of the internet economy. The internet and e-commerce are reshaping the way that Chinese people work, shop, and do business. As internet access has trickled down from the cities into the countrysides, rural families realized that they could make a living by staying home and selling goods on digital platforms. As more and more people launched their own e-businesses, entire villages began reorganizing local economies around e-commerce. Some of these villages experienced remarkable rates of growth, and their formerly poor residents became quite wealthy. The success of these places has led many Chinese scholars and statesmen like Premier Li Keqiang to argue that internet technologies are digitally empowering poor Chinese communities that would otherwise require state aid. At the center of all of these remarkable changes is Taobao, a consumer-to-consumer online auction and shopping website founded by the Alibaba Group in May 2003.